Shut up and sit down.
Cyclists are incredible athletes as far as endurance goes, but a great deal of them fight like little.
Viva, viva le Tour de France. Y a le maillot jaune, le maillot vert.
Speedos. Not only do Speedos offer very little protection for your manly or womanly bits, but they also look wrong. Yes, it'll prevent you from getting farmers' tan lines, but no, that's not a valid excuse. If you want to do group rides without everybody trying to drop you, steer well clear of Speedos. You are far less likely to end up being arrested for indecency or severely reducing your ability to start a family.
You are listening to Le Podcast Day Dialed with Matt Legrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Turing. 5-time Tour de France champion, Bernard Hinault, once said something that you should really chew on. You can't win without suffering. Whether it's in the mountains or in a time trial, you have to spare no effort. You may feel drained at the finish, but the joy of winning helps you forget everything. Vive Le Tour.
Viva le Tour de France. Viva le Tour de
I wear Speedos. When I'm at the store, you know I'm wearing my Speedos. When I'm doing cardio, I'm wearing Speedos. It feels super breezy like I ride tornadoes. Swimming in my Speedo.
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I am Jake Von Turing, and today I'm here with Evan Price.
How's it going, everybody? Instead of asking you guys what you're drinking, I'm going to talk about what I'm drinking. There's this new Kroger non-alcoholic ginger beer. Everybody should go try this. This stuff is really good. Okay. I got like a 6-pack and it's not enough. I'm going to have to go get another 6-pack of this. Yeah.
To his right, the one, the only, the Mr. Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys are looking fantastic tonight.
I like your
I say
hat.
tonight because they're listening to us
Yeah,
tonight.
that's right.
We can only assume.
Yeah, good to have you back in the studio, Matt.
Good to be here.
And on Skype, he's back. The man, the myth, the legend, Lance Hepler.
Lance Romance on location today. I'm somewhere in the middle of southern Idaho driving along the road, so who knows how my signal will be for the next
How fast are you going, Lance?
60, 90 minutes. I'm behind a truck right now. I'm cruising along at a nice, easy 65 miles an hour right now.
Okay.
Oh.
Keep us posted on your speed.
Yeah, so when you get pulled over by that police officer, make sure you get consent from him to be on the podcast, okay?
Uh-huh. Oh, that would be awesome. That'd be my favorite podcast
Put him on the
ever.
phone.
Yeah, I am not driving the adventure van right now. I'm in my little sports car, and my wife is following me in the adventure van. So just another reason for you all to hate me.
Brandy playing
Go
sax
ahead.
support once again.
Mm-hmm.
You've got yourself one heck of a wife, dude.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm pretty lucky there. Yeah.
Cool. Let's jump into our backpedal. Evan, backpedal for us.
All right. So before Matt trashes me in this backpedal,
It's gonna happen.
let me
Prepare yourself.
So I had this grand plan this last week to get in over 30 hours of training, and it almost happened, except that I got sick early in the week. So I'm not even going to make excuses, but it was something in my lungs. I was hacking up for like 3 days. I don't know. I probably had a patient that got me sick or something like that. Everybody was sick. So the week didn't start out that hot, but then really recovered, turned it around, feeling great now, and I didn't quite get in the 20 hours of cycling I was looking at. I got in about just under 18 hours, which is fine. Got in a couple good rides, but I'm gonna get trashed here in a second. Saturday, I was tired and feeling like just the biggest bummer ever. So I did the biggest no-no in group riding. Like canceled a ride 30 minutes before.
Well, that's the second to biggest. I think showing up late, making people wait for you.
This is true.
That's the biggest.
This
one,
is true.
so.
Yeah. So close number 2 is what I did there, which was text Matt, who we had planned on going a long ride together. First, I said, "Hey, I'm not going to open water swim with you," after trying to plan that, and then I said no to the ride and didn't even start training that day till almost 2-3 p.m. So
You're killing me on Saturday.
still got all my training in somehow. It just happened much later in the day.
You're killing me, man. Killing me.
Sunday I went on a ride with you. We had a nice ride Sunday.
We did
at
have a
least.
nice ride on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Sweet. Matt, backpedal.
Okay, so I think I wasn't on the podcast last week because I was in Sun River.
Driving home from Sun River. Yep.
Yeah, so I raced Sun River. I did the aqua bike instead of the triathlon. And I won it, but it was pretty close, actually, because I took my time in transition because the weather was cold and I was like putting a whole bunch of clothes on.
Transition.
I always take my time, but this was like 6 minutes as opposed to.
You had
like
a 6-minute transition.
6 minutes, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Because I was wet and I couldn't get all the warm clothes on that I wanted. And I thought it didn't matter. But then, but you know, I still like swam sort of hard and bike sort of hard or whatever. And I got to the very kind of like finishy finish biking because it's an aqua bike.
The finishy finish?
The finishy finish, not the real finish, but the aqua bike finish. So I like really close to the end. I like sprint around this guy, you know, and because I was like, maybe this guy might be the aqua bike guy that I've been kind of looking for.
Yeah,
and I think it was, and it wasn't that safe of a pass, right? Like I like. You know, like it was kind of on some turns or whatever. And normally, and if you know, if you have like a running race or whatever, you're like, whatever, I can chill out, you know, like go through this transition. Then I have a half marathon to like make my way up through the field or whatever. So, but I was thinking to myself, I was like, no, this is the end of my race. I'm going to pass, you know?
Yeah.
And I passed him, and I probably did put in, you know, a couple seconds, and I looked at the results. It was the second place Aquaman, and I only beat him by like 10 seconds.
Oh, really?
It was pretty close. And it was like, I beat him in the swim, and I beat him on the bike, and it was the transition. It was so bad. It like destroyed
6 minutes. Is
6 minutes transition, and
transition.
his was like, I don't know, 2 minutes or something, you know,
something reasonable.
So I spotted him 4 minutes, and
nice.
Yeah.
And
anyway.
you set a.
I don't know. I don't think I really set a course record or anything like that. But according to Alan Plank, you know, I guess I set a course
It's
record.
usually
by 10
pretty
seconds.
spot on. I don't know.
I trust Alan Plank.
You did.
Alan Plank's trustworthy. I don't. You know, I think we talked about this on our ride. I got to ride with Jake on Thursday, and I think we talked about this, where it's like, you did great in the aqua bike, which is awesome. And here's my problem with it. It's like, in any of these races, oftentimes you may have like 20, 30 events in one single like race weekend. There's typically like one race that is the race.
Yeah.
And
that's the Beast Man there.
Yeah, and at that race it's the Beast Man, and at Blue Lake it's the Olympic race, and you know there's all these just different races, and I think, you know, it's awesome to do well in whatever it is, the duathlon, the aqua bike, whatever it is. You know, even the Spring Classic, it's like the duathlon is the race at the Spring Classic, and they have a half marathon. And you will do well in these other races. You know, in my case, of this aqua bike, it's not the same. It's not. And if you're telling yourself that you're the champion or whatever a little too much, then you need to take a step back and realize, like, no. There was some really good athletes there. They give money to the not the aqua bike. They don't give money to the aqua bike finishers. They give money to the Beast Man race. They go all the way 5 deep.
It's a pretty good purse.
And it's like $1,000 to the winner or something like that.
It's
I know,
pretty comparable to like even Ironman races. Honestly, it's a really good purse. Yeah.
So I really think, you know, like I'm glad I won, because you don't want to get second. You don't want to get second by 10 seconds or whatever it is. You want to win, but at the same time, like I don't want to, you know, go like rooting and hollering that I won the aqua bike or whatever it is. So I'm pumped that I had a fun time with the family.
Sure.
So,
well, I know that you're going to downplay it, but to some people that's a big victory.
It's awesome.
You know,
Yeah,
and
for
that's, you know, for them to say that they, you know, beat Matt Legrand someday could be a pretty big accomplishment for them. So
yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully that's not their main goal.
You still got a couple more years before people are beating you.
See.
Hopefully.
Well. And the week was decent. The beginning of the week was kind of laying low a little bit, just recovering and stuff like that. Did some swimming, did some stuff like that, you know, traveling back from Sun River, which was just a good family experience. My wife ran the 10K. She got second overall. My kids did the kids race. They had fun. And then I think on Thursday, you and I rode, which was the 4th of July.
Correct.
Which was super awesome. And it was one of my favorite things to describe a ride would be like uneventful, you know?
Yep, they usually are when it's just you and me.
Yeah.
We just go out there and ride and have fun, getting a workout.
Ride, yeah. And I think we just kind of like goofed off like we always do, like settle in, did some stuff that was like for me a little bit more up tempo and for you nice and easy. And it was just like, let's talk about power meters. Let's talk about like what's the wattage stuff.
Just BSing the whole time.
Just comparing like a time trial bike to you being on the road and being in the slipstream, you know, back behind when I'm trying to go decent on the flats, you know? And so I thought it was fun.
Yeah. Matt surprised me, and he described it perfectly. He's like, yeah, I'm just slippery. And this guy is super slippery in the wind because we were moving along at a pretty steady pace. And
He's a terrible draft.
And he was needing to get a workout in, and I was needing to keep it at a certain zone, and it worked out perfect that I could just sit on his wheel. And if I needed to get my watts up just a little bit, I would come off of him a little bit, take on a little bit more wind.
Yep.
But we're cooking along pretty good, going 26, 27 miles an hour. I'm like, he's got to be putting out over 300. I'm thinking in my head 310 watts. That's what Matt's putting out for this pretty good chunk of time.
Yeah.
And I come up around him finally when he came off to let up. I'm like, just out of curiosity, how many watts were you putting down? And what was that number, Matt?
It was like, well, we think my power meter calibration might have been slightly off, but I think it was like 220 or something.
Yeah.
Like,
so and after you calibrated, maybe it was like 230.
Yeah.
That is really low watts for a
That's
freaking
very
fast
slippery.
time. Yeah. And I was in the back putting out less watts than him, but I was just trying to run the calculations. Right, if I'm sitting on his wheel,
Right.
I know that he's going to be
20%,
aero, and I'm
yeah.
about 20-ish%. Usually, if he was on a road bike, it'd be more like 30%. I'm just trying to crunch numbers in my head to figure out where he's at based on what I was putting out. And I was completely wrong. So kudos to you for being aero, man.
Being slippery, slip. No, I do this in races. People will be like, "Oh, you are the fastest bike split. You must have been putting out big watts." And I'm like, "You can look at my power meter. It says like 240."
Yeah.
It's like
I
just don't put out very much watts.
Yeah.
I wish I did.
And if you want to be slippery like Matt, go watch his YouTube channel because he tells you all his little dirty secrets, and it's all there for you to figure out the free speed. Yeah.
Free speed, yep.
Yep. Free Speed Friday. Check it out. Good times.
M.
will be had.
Legrand,
Yes.
right? YouTube.
That's right.
.com/M. Legrand.
That is correct.
God, I got that down.
You got it.
Nice.
So then Saturday, the plan was to swim open water with Evan. He bailed on
That
me.
got canceled.
That got canceled. then I was like, we could go catch Robbie's group
And get 100 in.
and get some good miles.
Yeah.
And Robbie Halterman, who we've talked about on this podcast before, just an awesome guy. And then Evan's like, I think I'm going to bail on you. And then I'm like, oh, well, let me see where those guys are. They were already like across the river. They were too far out for me to like go run them down. And I was like, dang it, Evan. Then I texted Jake and I was like, Jake, you want to sneak off a ride? And you were like, I'm sick. And I just was like, you know what? It's raining outside. I don't have anyone to ride with. I'm just going to go hop on the trainer.
We would have gotten very wet if we would have gone too.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm kind of thankful that, because
You're welcome for bailing.
this is going to sound stupid, right? But it's like, I got like new race wheels. I've got like, basically kind of like my bike set up for racing. And I was like, I don't want to go ride in the rain. You have to go through and clean all that stuff up, And it was like, okay, I'm going to go hop on the trainer. And let's just see. And my wife was like, you can't do 100 miles on the trainer. And I was like, I have before. I've done it before. I was like, honey, hold my beer.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, Evan does this every other weekend.
I was like, Evan is my inspiration. He stares at a blank wall.
Your timing was good for not only because of the rain,
Yeah.
but what started on Saturday?
the Tour de France.
Le Tour.
And that's what I did. I was like, first day of the tour, I'm going to watch this whole stage. Watch
Yep.
the whole first stage, which had some crashes and stuff. So it was pretty fun. It was a good time to sit down in front of the television. That was a long time, though.
6.5 hours, if I'm not mistaken.
6.5 hours. I could not push any watts. I was not happy. After 50 miles, I was like, this sucks. I was not feeling it at all.
You got to figure out how to get more aero in your living room, dude.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, sometimes it's like if you choose a flat course, you can move through 100 miles a little bit easier than if you... And I don't know, it just wasn't great. It was not a great experience. But for some reason, after like 65, 70 miles, the last 30 weren't that bad. Which
Gotcha.
was weird because the 30 miles before that were miserable.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I just kind of gave up and just started kind of like watching stuff and not paying attention to the trainer at all. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's tough. And, it's one of those things like it's good to just know that you can do it if you have to.
Yeah.
So
Good for you.
crazy.
And then I saw that on Strava that Matt did 100 miles on the trainer, and I thought, why is he doing that in July? That is ridiculous. And now we can blame it on Evan in the rain.
We will blame it. No, mostly let's blame it on Evan.
Mostly
now.
Evan's
I like
fault,
that.
though. Mostly I do. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Sunday, Evan made up for it slightly by seeing if I wanted to go for a ride on some hills because he does his standard hill workout. So we snuck out for a ride. I did 2 of his hills, went as hard as I could, which was great. And
I love that little climb.
Did the climb, went as hard as I could. And then, I expected him to do 5 or 6 of those. And so I figured I'd try and just stick with him as long as possible. And I did my 2, and I said, I'm going to go home. And Evan was like, oh, I'll ride home with you, which was very nice of you. I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
So
Because I needed to go back out there anyway. So I was like, I need the miles.
did you get a big day in?
It was about 90 miles and about 7K of climbing.
Wow.
So
not too shabby.
Good run. Every weekend for a while. Yep.
Every weekend.
Hey, Mr. International Man of Mystery, you got a backpedal for us?
I do. What do you guys want to hear about?
Gravel riding.
I tell you, so I'm sorry I missed the podcast last week. I was kind of in a bit of a dead zone, and so I missed it. So for the last couple weeks, I've just been out traveling through Eastern Oregon and Idaho, and for the first week it was just me and the dog, and I would stop and ride some barren gravel roads or take out my mountain bike or whatever. I was just kind of out having fun. I ended up in Sun Valley, Idaho. My wife ended up driving up to meet me for a few days, so we're still kind of traveling together, which has been kind of nice. But I haven't done anything real focused. I've just been riding 2 or 3 hours a day, kind of. It could be on my mountain bike. It could be on the gravel bike. It could kind of be whatever. There is a gravel road outside of Ketchum called the Harriman Trail that is it's like 19 miles long one way, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And so to ride it out and back is about 40 miles. It's actually part of the Rebecca's Private Idaho gravel stage race. It's the first day stage. And, oh man, I get in that thing and I'm just smiling the whole time. So
this is the kind of stuff that we need to know and like mark on the map so that we all basically kind of know where to go to find Lance, or to find the best gravel rides in the country.
Yes.
There's just some neat stuff up here in the Wood River Valley to ride. The mountain biking is just world class. The road biking is so-so, but you just can't beat the mountain biking or the gravel stuff up here. It is just phenomenal. So that's been kind of fun. I've been camping in my van up 5 miles up a gravel road, and every morning I would wake up and I would go try to run the dog 10 miles to wear her out, so that then she would sleep in the van while I would go do a real ride later in the day. And I didn't even realize that there was a segment on this one section I kept riding every morning. But one morning, just me trying to keep up with the dog because she runs so stinking fast, I got the KOM on the segment, just trying to keep up with the dog. So
you got to give Piper a Strava account.
So technically, Piper has that KOM.
It was Piper who got that KOM.
Piper would have the CR, right?
Lance only got that because he was in her draft.
That's funny.
What's funny is the person who had the segment was Andy Sargent, who was a 50-plus racer from Bend. He actually lives in Bend, but at some point he was out here riding around. And anyway, so that's kind of what I've been doing, is just with no plan, just kind of driving around. Right now, I'm kind of on my way back. I'm going to Utah. I'm going to do some riding in Utah. I'm going to hang with my kids for a day or two, and then we might head on to Colorado for a couple days. So
just living the dream is what you're doing.
We're just screwing around.
Stay out there until the first weekend in August, Lance.
Why is that?
Because that's when I race Boulder 73, and I would love for you to just have a mountain bike ready for me right after the race.
That's awesome. How long do you think you'll be gone for, Lance? Oh, no.
Oh, we lost him. That
was like a hard load.
Yeah, sounds like we lost him.
Oh, he's back.
There he is. He's back. We lost you there for a second, Lance.
There's what I was saying was there's one thing back in Portland I don't want to miss, and it's the last night of short track racing.
Oh yeah.
Because there's a big relay event, and it's a really fun team night, and it's really fun. And that's one of the last weeks of July, I believe, and I don't want to miss that.
Can't miss that.
But I don't know.
So you'll be back before then. That's all you know.
That's all I know. Yeah.
And you're sticking to it.
Wherever the wind goes.
Wherever it goes.
Yeah. Cool. I will run through mine and we'll get into the rest of the show. I had no racing this past week. There really wasn't much racing, so we're all just kind of talking about training
down
stuff.
week, yeah.
Training was going well. I was actually starting to pile on some good rides on top of each other, getting good volumes in, and went out and did that 4th of July ride with Matt, which was kind of nice. During that 4th of July ride, I knew I just needed a Zone 2 ride, which was perfect because I was feeling tired. And then we got back, and Matt had a really cool little party in his cul-de-sac with his all of his neighbors and whatnot, which was it was kind of neat to go there and just hang out because there's a cool vibe, and they were doing fun games and chili cook-offs and stuff. And then the whole day, I'm like, I'm just really too tired for. It was just shy of a 50-mile ride that we did, and I just kind of hung out sitting in my chair. It was kind of like a bump on a log, just chit-chatting with people from time to time. Got up the next morning and felt like crap. So I ended up getting sick. I don't know, some sort of stomach something or other that had me down for a couple days. So all that crap, all that training turned to crap. And I was really bummed out because I was supposed to go do a ride that I've been jonesing to do for the longest time, and that was the Windy Ridge, the Mount St. Helens ride.
Yep.
There was a good group of people. It was going to be a fun ride. I was going to parlay the training. I was going to use this to kind of springboard back into some fitness after taking some downtime because my shoulder was having problems, and I had a little respiratory stuff prior to that. No, it's just here goes Jake again, following another little
best laid plans.
Exactly. But that Mount St. Helens ride, after looking at some of those profiles,
they killed it.
Granted, I still wish I was there, but my God, did they hammer that thing? And there was just a trail of KOMs all the way up that hill. It seemed like they just hammered just about every section.
They had a car's worth of horsepower going up that climb.
Yes,
so that was incredible.
We had some of our stronger teammates just drop the hammer on that, so it was kind of neat to see that. Mm-hmm. Kudos to them.
Who was it was Chris Hannell,
Chris Surratt,
Little Nels was out there too.
Yep.
Mike Guyvan was with him, wasn't he? Yeah.
Kurt Critchko and Sean Martin, and there's a few others as well. And they just went out there and had their way with that course. So we did our little Flockout ride on Friday, which was nice, and just had some more new people show up for that ride. I struggled through that. It's like the slowest ride, and I just wanted to go home the whole time because my stomach just felt like it was going to explode. So I actually even ended up getting a ride home from Sean. Thank you again, Sean, for the ride home. And didn't do anything this weekend. Just pretty much sat around and tried to recover. I got up on Saturday. It was funny because Matt texted me. He's like, "Hey, you want to go for a ride later?" I'm like, "Yeah, probably not." I got up in the morning pretty early. It was like I didn't watch the whole tour, but I got up at like 6 o'clock. Went downstairs, watched the entire tour. And like I still feel like crap. Went upstairs, got back into bed, and like kind of napped on and off, and was just like laying there, just thinking how much this sucks. And it wasn't too much different yesterday. I mean, I spent the better part of the first half of the day just sitting on the couch watching the tour again. But anyway, nobody needs to hear this stuff. This is just
recovered.
So
this is the perfect time to recover in front of the tour.
Yeah, gotta let the immune system do it.
I was recovering with the tour last year.
That's true. Yeah,
so
that was
I want to be outside doing the tour, but I don't know. It is what it is. So it just hasn't been fantastic, and I'm still like. I'm feeling much better now. I've actually been up and moving around, but I don't have any injury, so I don't think I'm going to race tonight. I think I'm just going to take it off. Take my son out there to race on his brand new bike that he got for his birthday.
Nice.
And then I'm going to come home, and we are traveling down to Diamond Lake, Oregon, which is near Crater Lake, Oregon, and we're going to go camping from tomorrow until Saturday. So I'm just going to go down there, and I'll take a road bike and a mountain bike with me and go back down there. And start
you
working
should
on
be able
fitness.
to do the ride around Crater Lake. I think that all those roads are cleared now, actually.
I heard a week and a half ago that it was still closed, if I'm not mistaken, due to the snow. But
I thought
I'm
I'd
sure
seen somebody put up a picture that they made around, but it was all snow walls on both sides still. So they may have just cleared it.
We'll see. Yeah, if it's open, I'll go down there and try and ride it because it sounds fun. So, all right, let's jump into the Leadout news. Let's talk shop. We're going to run through a bunch of tour stuff. And before we jump into that, I want to talk about just kind of what's going on there and who's kind of in the tour lead and kind of what our thoughts are.
We can update our picks as well, our winner and dark horse pick.
This is me trying to be smooth. This isn't what I want to be talking about right now. Matt got up and left the room because he had to go.
Yes.
Matt had to go potty.
Matt's going last.
When Matt gets back, we'll update our tour picks just to make sure that everybody's on the record for who we are picking. We talked about this before the actual tour started, and we've got a clear idea of like who our main person is that we think is going to win, and then our long shot dark horse. We'll run through that in just a second. So, Evan, what are your thoughts on the tour thus far?
So the tour thus far has actually been pretty exciting for 3 stages that maybe weren't going to be, usually you start with a prologue. Yeah. So it's been interesting to see actually how many contenders I think are going to be there this year, and how many people actually have a chance to win or to be on the podium. Yeah. Team Ineos is dominant. Don't get me wrong. I mean, between Bernal and Thomas, they have the 2 perennial favorites.
Sure.
But I don't think some of these other guys are that far off of
It's not a foregone conclusion. It's one of those things where every time anything happens, there's like this whole knee-jerk reaction. Could this be the person? Is he going to supplant them? And we don't have there's like the people that finished, what was it, 3, 4, and 5 last year? Are not here. So Roglic, you got Chris Froome, and then who was the other one?
Dumoulin.
It was Dumoulin. Yeah,
Dumoulin was there. Yeah.
So
and Dumoulin's not here.
2, 3, 4. So they're not there. So everybody's got this knee-jerk reaction. Anytime somebody does something, they're like, could this be the person? Let's take a look at his team. I mean, that's very typical Tour-esque kind of stuff. But it is kind of fun to watch because it truly is more open to everybody this year.
It is.
It's kind of
and really, stage 1 was incredible. If you're looking at, so the guy who won, nobody in their right mind would have picked him in the top 10, 15, probably not even 20. I mean, he was the lead-out guy for Lotto. He's not even their sprinter. He was their lead-out guy.
No one would have picked him.
No.
I mean, if someone bet on him...
I love that.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you, Lance. I thought watching that, and also, I'm sure you also, the line he took didn't even make sense. He went from one side of the small group to the other, and then just decided he wasn't going to go on Sagan's wheel, and he was going to match him, watt for watt, and... I mean,
he came up quick.
There aren't many guys who are gonna stay at into the wind and outpower Sagan like that. So,
Sagan went a little too soon.
He went way too early.
But it's kind of funny watching him look over and go,
"Who's that?
Is that? And what in the world did you just do to me?"
So, was anybody listening? So, Jake, did you notice they thought it was Wout van Aert?
Yeah, they said
for the longest time, 10 minutes, they thought it was Wout van Aert.
And it wasn't just because I was watching it on NBC, and it wasn't just them. It was a lot of the different feeds. We're all thinking that it was Wout. And that's another thing. Little time out real quick. Let's talk about how you properly say his name.
Here we go.
Or what did we say was yesterday?
Wout van Aert is what I've always said.
If you listen to the broadcast, it's incorrect. It's not Wout. That's like the American version of it. It's like Wout.
Watt's more appropriate.
Maybe it's Wout.
Watt's
He's got a lot of watts. I don't know.
I'm already at a disadvantage. I can't say anything right. Tell me the proper. It's easier to say. But
has anybody Lance's podcast on stages?
Yeah,
that's our pronunciations are roughly going to rival his. We're going to butcher every single. Lotto's leader, Krushwish.
Oh,
does anybody know what I'm talking about? The young guy from Lotto Visma?
Yeah, I can never say any of these guys.
Who's probably going to be in the top 10. I mean, he's very strong.
Yeah.
So
they either have way too many vowels or way too many consonants, and it's just it doesn't flow with our tongue. So,
typical Americans.
Have you guys noticed that it still seems to me that the peloton is looking at Team Ineos as like a bit of a leading team?
Yeah.
If you watch a lot of the stage 1 or whatever it is, Team Ineos lines up. They get in, and then people get behind them.
Yep.
It still seems like they're leading.
It still harkens back to the Postal days, where everybody looked at Postal to lead,
see what we're doing,
to see what they're going to do.
And here's the thing: each time you'll have a sprint team. They want to get their sprinters to to the finish or whatever safely or whatever, and so or the sprints team to do the job of reeling in the lead or whatever. But right there, right behind them, Team Ineos just doing the thing that they do, which we are all saying that this is a different tour and whatever it is. Maybe it's not. And I don't know the answer.
I'm just probably the team that gets a little crafty that goes against that grain. That's going to come up and surprise people.
I think Lotto's that team.
Yeah,
they have the horsepower.
After what they did in the team time trial, absolutely. Yeah.
That was 20 seconds into them.
So impressive and fun to watch too.
Yeah. And there was we were talking before the podcast. So we're talking about stage 2, the team time trial, which is just fun to watch. If you ever want to watch I mean, I love when sometimes they'll put the watt numbers on there too, so you can get a true appreciation of what those guys are doing in those groups. There was about a 2-minute segment in the middle of that team time trial where Wout van Aert, we're going to go with Wout.
Wout van Aert.
We're just going to start calling him Wout.
I think we should go with Wout van Aert, but if we call him Wout van Aert...
I'll mix it up so one of us is right at least.
I think it's actually Wout.
Oh, God, are none of us going to be right? Okay, Wout van Aert.
I don't know.
Wout van Aert. So he sat on the front of that team for about 2 minutes after Tony Martin had taken a pull. And the amount of he was putting up north of around 500 watts basically for that, which is, to think that you can do that for 2 minutes and then somehow attach back onto that group and then put that effort out again in 3-4 minutes later. That's incredible. He took the longest pull there of the whole group in the middle of that, and then still was the guy who was dragging them to the finish line at the end.
Yeah.
And that's Tony Martin.
Yeah.
Not a nobody.
Yeah, so you watch all the other teams, they all will line out and kind of sprint together to the finish. The Lotto team was just hanging on to his wheel for dear life. Van Aert was pulling them to the finish line. Yeah. Nobody could sprint around him.
Yeah. We always talk about how riding off-road gives you fantastic bike handling skills. Yeah. Evidently gives you a lot of watts too.
I think it does too. Just look at his quads. Yeah.
Massive. Very cool. Let us kind of update our tour picks. We went on the record last week. We had Whitney Phillips in here with us, and we kind of ran around the table. Obviously, we didn't have Matt Lance here. We did connect with Matt Lance. We did talk with them prior to the start of the tour so that we could get
these are all pre-picks.
Exactly.
These are pre-picks.
Yeah, they
Can we
didn't
update our picks every week?
I'm going to wait till week 3 to update my pick.
Seems like we're towards the end.
Was that a suicide pool?
We might be able to do okay towards the end. Who knows?
Okay. So I went on the record. My overall pick was Egan Bernal, and then my dark horse, which is kind of a long dark horse. He's not leading the team, and he's not the one that they're truly going to be supporting, was TJ Van Garderen. Evan, who were your 2 picks?
My 2 picks was going to be Romain Bardet, which is already looking bad as the winner. They lost a lot of time in the team time trial. And my dark horse, who I am feeling more confident about than Bardet right now, is Michael Woods.
Yeah, well, you've got the
Canadian
backup guy, yeah.
Oh, he looks great right now.
I like him because he's a runner.
Yes, he's going to climb well. I think he's going to be the guy in those last selections. I'm feeling super confident about that pick right now.
He was right there today for stage 3. He didn't win. He took second though. He won the field sprint up that little hill.
He looks great.
Behind Philippe Joubert. Yep. Matt, why don't you go on the record right now with the picks that you had?
Okay, well, I wasn't exactly sure because I feel like on the last week's podcast, you guys kind of talked about picks and you went back and forth, and then you kind of went to dark. It was a little tricky to figure out should I give my top podium and then
because you gave your podium originally.
I gave a podium and then I gave a dark horse. But if we're just talking pick for the win, I have to agree with you. I think Egan Bernal is. Okay. I think he's solid. I just think because of the altitude, he's gonna do pretty well.
Okay, who's your dark horse?
And again, here's if our rules for dark horses is that it couldn't be the number 1 person on that team. This is potentially the lieutenant type person.
Sure, yeah.
If that's our rule, then I would say Miguel Landa because he's on no one's team, even though he's on Movie Star's team.
Okay,
he is definitely just wants to do his own thing all the time.
I think that's kind of his personality. He's going to ride for himself.
Man, that's a bad reputation.
Yeah,
that is not. Yeah. And so maybe I shouldn't pick him, but he's my dark horse pick.
There you go.
Okay,
Lance, go on the record. Who you got?
Well, I had picked Richie Port
to
win, either him or Egan Bernal. Those were kind of guys that I thought would be on the podium. And for my dark horse, I had picked Fugelsang, but he is somebody that the team is kind of working around.
Sure.
So I'm going to switch my dark horse pick to, of course, Wout Van Aert. So that's going to be my dark horse
that's
pick.
An awesome pick.
I love that, yeah.
I would love to see him do really well overall.
I was sitting here before the podcast saying he's too heavy and can't climb the mountains, but every single time we say this guy can't do something, he's going to do it. So, I don't know.
Here's the thing: if they try to defend the white jersey with him, he may do well.
He may he may be potentially a top 20 guy, which would be incredible for the type of rider that he is to be top 20 at the tour. Yeah.
I mean, also Egan Bernal is also white jersey, so. Yeah.
But anyway, Lance, you have to choose Port or Bernal.
Well, somebody else has Bernal, so I'll go with Port.
There you go.
All right, good choice.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay, you hear it, you've heard it, and we've said it. So
no one chose Geraint Thomas, which
so we're all going to be wrong by next week.
I feel
everybody's going to be crashed out.
Didn't he already crash and have a problem in stage 1? So that's why none of us picked
So
him.
here's the 2 crash updates in the first 3 stages. Is you have Thomas went down.
Okay.
But the bigger one was Fugelsang took a bad crash.
That was bad.
Fugelsang took a bad crash, and he's got a lot of road rash, which is a big deal because, I mean, if you listen to, when Lance and George Hincapie talk about the tour, when you crash early, you lose a lot of sleep in those early stages.
Yeah.
And that is not good. I mean, 3 weeks is a long time. And if you're losing sleep early in that race.
That was Lance Armstrong's number 1 pick beforehand. And he says he's done. He says, got no chance.
Crazy stat about Lance Armstrong here. In his 7 tour wins, guess how many times Lance crashed?
I know the answer to this, but
we talked about this.
Good. 1.5 times.
Yep.
1.5.
Is the half where he broke the pedal or whatever it was?
I think that's what he counts as his. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what he counts as his half. Is that? And I mean, you think about that, and Hincapie made the point. That's not luck. That is. That is Astana's fault that Fogelsong crashes there. You're coming into a late sprint, and Astana has nobody protecting their leader, and he's in the middle of a sprint developing stage.
You can't be there.
No, that's on the team right there. Yeah,
live and learn.
Yeah, and we should go back and look at the exact location of that because they probably have was it a 3K rule or whatever it is?
It was dead in middle, and I want to say it was an EF drop it guy who was who went down first.
All right, let's move forward into our topic of the day. Here you go. Our 10-ish things that pair well with cycling and or triathlon. Kind of think, I don't know, wine and cheese a la Tour de France.
There you go. I like the connection.
Yeah, but you can't bike very well with a bottle of wine in your back pocket. I mean,
they used to do that.
Oh, maybe
they used to do it with beer. Yeah.
I don't know.
You guys can put that up there between your aero bars with your straw in it.
That's true.
Yeah. Would that be more aero to have that bottle in there?
Probably would.
It'd be tough to run after that, though, I will say. Yeah.
It'd be tough to bike.
Wouldn't hurt, though. So we haven't really compared any of our notes here. We've all just got things jotted down, and we're going to run through these things.
This is blind.
I'm curious to know, what are your top 10-ish things? Or not even top 10-ish, it's just 10-ish things.
Me and Matt will probably be more focused around triathlon. Lance and Jake will be more focused around cycling, I'd imagine.
I haven't thought specifically to triathlon, but yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
All right.
Matt, start us off.
You know what I think? This is just a weird thing that people are like, you are a cyclist, you always eat bananas. Isn't that weird? Like, have you ever heard
That's
people?
very true.
It's so weird, and it's because it's one of those things that fits well
fits
back
nicely
there.
into a pocket.
You can eat it well on the bike or whatever it is,
Got a
and
disposable wrapper.
Disposable wrapper, whatever it is. But it's like, oh, I've heard someone say like, oh, you don't like bananas? Like, you must not be a cyclist. It was so weird. I was like, okay. All right, bananas.
A lot of sugar, which is good.
Pairs well with cycling.
I 100% stand behind that statement.
So weird. Okay.
Put it on the list.
All right.
Matt, thank you. Evan, your turn.
Okay, something that pairs well with triathlon. I'll go with where is Speedos. Speedos go great in triathlon. Every single time there's a person racing in a Speedo, he's instantly the coolest person
and
at
a
that
mustache.
race.
Speedo mustache.
Speedo mustache. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It's like that's
you're like instantly the coolest guy at the race.
What is that? What does that stem from? This is like the
Ferris Al-Sultan. I don't know. That was he the last guy to really rock the Speedo well?
I don't know, but I feel like I've seen even cross country runners be like mustache November, and they're all like doing this like.
Was that kind of like that Prefontaine that kind of? But he was. Like, I mean that was the whole era. Everybody had a mustache at that time.
But that was serious, and now I think it's a little bit more like tongue in cheek, where it's like,
it is,
okay, this is Speedo and mustache.
Are they riding in the Speedo as well?
Yes, they are.
Some.
They absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, if you're swimming in the Speedo, you're definitely riding in it.
Okay, I want to put this to a vote. Lance, you got to help me out here. Does this go on our list? Speedos. Can we downvote this?
This is a triathlon and cycling one.
I don't know, man, because you got to get on the bike, and that's where I get to have a say. I don't want to see you riding around in your Speedo, bud.
Oh,
just don't.
No, it's
don't
bad.
don't come to our group. Evan and I's group rides.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We'll be the coolest guy at our own group rides.
What do you think Evan and I were wearing yesterday?
I'm planning on Speedoing my last workout. Yeah.
Oh,
that's why we bike the hills so fast.
Yeah, exactly.
It does not belong on our list. This is a cycling podcast. You guys are nuts.
This is a cycling podcast.
Lance, are you telling me you never rocked a Speedo while you were racing triathlon?
I have never rocked a Speedo, even racing triathlon.
We should definitely find a race and do a Speedo.
We're going to.
Okay.
Yeah, next year's goal. Promised it right now on this podcast. Me and Matt will race in a Speedo next season at some point.
Fine.
All right, if this Speedo makes it to the list, then you guys have to show up to the next.
How about it's an honorable mention?
Group ride
in
wearing
Speedos.
Speedos. Yeah.
Is that even legal on the roads?
And
That's a good question.
If you survive that ride, then you can continue on.
Not
Otherwise,
only will we survive it, we will crush the ride.
We're going to thrive on that ride. Do you know how heavy clothes are?
Evan and I are going to be trading turns up front.
I'm going to have to stick an extra tube and little tire lever in my Speedo somewhere.
Oh yeah.
guys can be up there hammering away, then all of a sudden you look back and everybody's gone. And they took a right-hand turn
Yeah,
when you guys
exactly.
weren't looking.
Because we're dropping them because our speedos are so light.
They're so arrow.
Lance, add to the list, buddy.
My first thought was that cycling goes with bad tan lines.
Yeah.
So you can't worry about your tan lines.
Or good tan lines.
Or how good your tan is if you're much of a cyclist.
There are quite a few cyclists I know that are very particular about their tan lines, so they'll make sure that they will roll the sleeves to the exact same location.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, you gotta have that sharp tan line.
That is too funny.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with one here that's going to be a little off the beaten path. I'm going to say YouTube pairs well with cycling.
YouTube.
It does.
Like indoor riding. Watching.
For a multitude of reasons. Indoor riding, even though some people say that's not cycling. Well, it kind of is for us, at least here in the Pacific Northwest.
I think it is.
But if I just stop and think about it, the amount of information, education, how-tos, all of that stuff that I've assimilated from watching YouTube and what it has taught me over the past however many years, we'll say 8, 10, 12 years, however long YouTube's been around, I can't thank YouTube enough, and the people that take the time, the creators that take the time to put up content there to educate, a la Matt Legrand.
Well,
he's a person that's doing that, and I'm sure you've helped a lot of people in the world of triathlon around the world. Just think about your reach that you've had of just teaching and educating and talking to people about stuff that they've put into practical application for their triathlon. That's fantastic. So
hopefully, I mean, if you help, let's say you have all these listeners or watchers, if you help 10 people, that's awesome. That's huge.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, it's good to think about that, because sometimes it's a lot of trouble.
Last year when I was given the green light to go ahead and start riding again on the trainer, wearing my sling and being in all kinds of pain and discomfort and whatnot, I needed a distraction to get away from that feeling, because it did not feel good to do that, especially in the beginning when I was just trying to find a comfortable position. YouTube kind of saved my bacon. I sat in here and I watched all kinds of stuff. I was researching.
YouTube has like full tour stages from all the tours on that. I mean, you could watch enough cycling on YouTube for a year.
And I used it too because I've got this thing where I'd like to get in. I'm definitely into this whole like photography world. I wanted to learn more about like all of like the science and like the just everything that goes into photography in general. And I was able to teach myself quite a bit of stuff, and I was able to utilize that.
Learn a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you took on a good bit of information.
Yeah, I knew
in a short
zero.
amount of time.
Zero. I mean, I knew I'd take a picture with my phone. I'm like, this is fun, but I need something that actually takes real pictures. So, and I've been jumping into the video component of it. I'm slowly learning that when I have the time, and I think that's what I'm going to try and master, because I'm going to be sitting on the trainer doing nothing this winter. I'm going to try and master the video component of it as well. So this should be a lot of fun. Anyway,
nice.
That's my little pick.
Good one.
I like it.
Good pick.
All right, moving around the table again. Matt Legrand, hit us.
Sunny weather and cycling go together hand in hand.
Not in the Pacific Northwest usually.
I'm telling you what, man, when the weather breaks, you just want to be on your bike.
Yep.
You know what? You get really sad when you miss it too.
Oh, I know. Yeah, you do.
Super sad.
Can't even imagine my summer.
Where you're like, I have so much work to do, and it's sunny outside. Ugh.
Yeah. I know it did rain a little bit this past Saturday, but there were still moments where it was nice out, and not being able to ride my bike, knowing that I told myself, all you're going to do this summer is ride your bike.
Yeah.
Because you missed it last summer. You got lots of making up to do. I was so bummed just sitting there. I'm like, this sucks. It was like I was having like PTSD flashbacks of like sitting on the couch and not being able to be outside. So I like that one.
Yes, that's a good one. I like it.
Evan Price,
hit pictures.
Hit us with another one, Evan.
All right. Cycling. We'll go with cycling, not triathlon, but this also falls into triathlon. And after race pastries.
Oh. Is there any Instagram?
Also,
can you give us any Instagram
just in
channels
case, just in case you were wondering, there is post-race pastry. If you're looking
Instagram at post-race pastry
for a really, really well-followed, incredibly famous Instagram page,
which we are
now, it's a mystery who runs this Instagram
we don't know.
page.
No one knows.
You don't know. It's an ambiguous account. So whoever runs it does a great job, though, and you should all
hell of a job.
And if you look at some of the pictures, you'll be looking at like a display case of pastries.
That's a great hand too.
And if you look really closely and you zoom in, you can see a reflection of somebody. So
well, who's that? I don't know who that
Easter
person
egg right
is.
there.
I have no idea who that person is.
Oh man, that's inside.
We're gonna have to go in and tell them to edit that. Whoever that person is.
I saw that and I'm like, all right, who took that picture? Which one of them was it?
But really, I mean, like a good. I mean, we're talking like across the world too. Like, in France,
world renowned. Yeah.
What do you do? Croissant right after a ride.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
Yep. I can follow up on that and say coffee and cycling.
Yes.
Sorry, Lance.
Yep.
I know no coffee for you, but
Same with beer. with beer in cycling.
Beer
Yes,
and
beer and
for
cycling
sure.
very well paired.
But I mean, I feel like coffee more so because there is the coffee ride.
It literally
right?
is a ride named after it.
I mean, yeah, I do. I mean, there probably are beer rides and stuff too, but I just feel like you go, you ride, you do a decent ride, you end up at a coffee shop, you still ride afterwards oftentimes. So
I've never
it's
been somebody who does
not
the
as-
mid-coffee break, though.
We should.
We should.
Let's do it. After
can do
your
that,
season's
yeah.
over, maybe.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Let's do some of that.
Yeah.
That'd
I've
be
done it
fun.
a few times.
We do fall coffee rides.
When you ride out
We
to
did the coffee
Multnomah
ride.
Falls, I always go out there and
Oh, I
get some
love that.
espresso.
Yeah.
It's great. It's that rocket fuel to get you home.
My plan for
bad,
Saturday was to stop in Philida, which is like 70 miles into that 100-mile, and grab a coffee. And I thought Evan would do that with me.
I
He
would've
would
done
do
that
it.
with
He
you.
would have done
I
it.
should have
I
done
know.
that with you.
It'd be great. Yeah.
There's a nice social component too about the coffee break or the coffee shop stop, and it's very synonymous with cycling. And
Yeah.
there's also the performance enhancement component to coffee and the caffeine.
And it's just fun walking around in public in cycling shoes. You look hilarious, and it's
Yeah,
great.
that's true.
You really
That's
embrace
true.
yourself as a cyclist.
Lycra, cycling
Yeah.
shoes,
So
and coffee.
I've probably told this story on this podcast before. 200-mile ride, Seattle to Portland.
Yep.
I was hitting the wall pretty bad. 170 or 175 miles. I was like, I'm looking for a coffee shop. I stop at a coffee shop. I lose my group. There's only 25 miles left in the ride or whatever. We were I was going hard, like I wanted to do as well as possible. And I was like, you know what? I'm stopping. Stopped, had a cup of coffee by myself, took a photo of it, got back on the bike, caught the group that I was with, raced into the finish line. Felt
you
like
drop
$1 million
them?
Yes.
Haha.
But
Yeah.
Love
we
it.
were hammering. I mean,
Now-
I was absolutely
Oh, yeah.
hammering the last
And
25
honestly,
miles.
how would you have done had you not stopped for that coffee? Would you have been dropped by the group? Probably.
I probably would have been dropped by the group or maybe been able to hang in there, but I wouldn't have felt great.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was just wonderful. It was like, I know for me that it works wonders mid-ride. So
I agree.
keep doing it.
I like it. All right. So that was yours.
That
Lance,
was mine. Yep.
let's see here. Let's go back to Evan. Let's do another one real
Back
quick,
to
Evan.
me.
Yeah.
All right. Back to triathlon here. No socks in triathlon.
No socks. I love how you're going.
I'm trying to ruin this
Cycling
list.
podcast.
I'm trying to ruin
What are
this
you
list
doing?
right now.
So let's talk
so-
about socks though.
So I'll
because-
change it. Lance, just make it happy. Perfect height socks in cycling, or an obsession with sock height in cycling. Those are
Sock-
paired very well together.
Okay, I feel like sock obsession is real, and it's
Oh,
so
it's,
weird.
It's hilarious to me
Because you got cycling socks are, I come from a running background, so I think the running sock length is the right length, right? Which is it's kind of a very low cut sock.
Mm-hmm.
And cycling, it's like mid calf.
up to calf.
Mid
Yeah.
calf, mid shin. Yeah.
I mean, that's important, and it's important to cycling.
Now, here's the question: is I really think it has to go down to the anatomy of your calf. So
Yeah.
I'll way nerd out here, but runners typically have high gastroc complexes, which is really long Achilles tendon and a very balled up soleus gastroc complex.
Yep.
Just because it makes you a better runner, actually. That pull. So the example is watch a Kenyan run. Look at what their calf is developed as. That's how a runner's calf has an advantage. Cycling, not always the same. A cyclist can sometimes have a low gastroc,
Yeah.
which creates a lot more power but isn't as springy.
Yep,
So
that's me.
yeah, and that's very common in cyclists. So does it depend on where your calf falls, or is it a universal height regardless? Are we talking like inches wise?
I think it kind of looks funny when it starts to go up your calf,
Yeah,
and it's like it doesn't go up
it's
onto
like
the calf.
partially covering the calf.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It starts to marshmallow out a little bit. I think that looks kind of funny.
It
And I
does,
purposefully, personally, I won't wear a sock that's that high just because of that, because I have bigger calves. And
Yep.
it just looks kind of funny. So I have to come up to a certain spot.
Certain
Yeah.
height.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna wear calf socks, I have to wear very high ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, here's the weird thing. Like, do you feel like this is where I've struggled with my sock pick? I mean, this is
Yeah.
important, guys.
This is very important. Yeah.
When I'm cycling, I feel like I should bust out cycling socks and go that height. And when I'm running, I feel like I should wear running socks certain height. When I'm in triathlon, I don't worry about it too much, but I'll usually go with something low cut or whatever because it looks like you've got no socks on or whatever. Do you feel like they're sport specific and that you should stick to it, or do you think that the socks thing is ridiculous and that you should just wear whatever you've got in your closet?
Stick to it.
Stick to the sport specific.
Yes. if you're riding bikes, wear the stuff that's specific to riding bikes. If you're running, stick to the stuff that's running. So,
do you think that running socks look ridiculous because you have the cycling background? Like you're all cyclists.
If you're out running, no.
You think it's fine for running?
Go jump on a bike. Yeah,
then it looks weird.
Yeah, I might run you off the road.
Hey, Matt, how long were my socks yesterday?
I feel like you did. I think
I had ankle socks.
I thought you had no socks on.
I had ankle socks.
I was going to say that you had no socks on yesterday because I think I noticed it in the ride. Like in just the back of my mind, I'm like, he's a real triathlete.
Yep.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Before we turn this whole podcast into sock talk,
we could go for hours.
Let's
on
jump
socks.
on to the next one. Lance, bring us with another one.
All right, I got one that probably isn't real pleasant to talk about, but it seems to kind of go with cycling, and that is eating disorders.
Oh,
wow.
Yes. There's always this pressure to lose a little bit of weight and to be lighter and fitter and increase your watts per kilogram by being lighter. And I think that in times has led to some eating disorders, which you see in males in endurance sports and females too.
All right, he's taking our little peanut butter and jelly and our wine and
know.
cheese to a
You made
dark
it dark.
place.
He's
here.
right, though.
I don't know
He's right, though.
I don't know if it pairs well. I don't know if eating disorder pairs well, but definitely
it is a
About
pairing.
proper
though,
nutrition pairs well with cycling, and if you're not doing proper nutrition, then it's not paired well.
Yeah.
So.
We need a big guy to win the tour, and then we can all stop thinking about
some
that, right?
super overweight guy.
Some big
That's gonna
guy will
happen.
go win the tour. We'll be like,
Probably 250 pounds and he just wins the tour. Look at that big guy climb.
I'll tell you what, the eating disorders are developed, unfortunately, because of physics. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, to win these things, you have to be incredibly lean. And until it's proven otherwise, I mean, you look at how they were racing back in like the 50s and 60s. The guys winning the tour at that time were actually decently big guys. Eddie Merckx was not what we would define as a climber today, even at his peak.
He's, if you look at those,
neither was Miguel Indurain. Indurain was a big guy.
Big compared to some of the guys now. But I do think they're still pretty lean. They remind me of like Van Aert, actually.
They
like
were, but they were more built like that. The problem is that they found out, if you can keep a pretty decent, watt out,
watts per kilo.
Watts per kilo, you can continue to drop weight almost to a level that's what you see guys like Bernal, Froome, Carlos Sastre, I mean, these really lean climbers that have just dominated the sport in the Grand Tours ever since. So, unfortunately, it is a physics equation.
Yep. And that's the thing is like, when you're coaching high school people, you don't want to, you just basically want to avoid the chaos that's the eating disorder problem. I mean, like, it's not worth going. But at the same time, like, if someone really talks to you, you want to tell them, like, weight does matter. Like, it's not that it doesn't matter. It's just that the consequences for going the wrong direction are so severe.
Lifelong.
And so it's not worth it. So,
I just want to add to that, though. You're talking a little bit more about, improper nutrition and bad dieting and eating disorders. But let's just say food in general pairs really well with cycling. Because if you think about it from a multitude of different ways, you have to intake it correctly.
Yes.
In order to gain yourself the most optimal body mass, just make sure that you're as light and powerful as possible. But you also, when you go out there and you train your butt off, I mean, if you go out there and train like 6, 7, 8 hours in a day, you kind of treat yourself a little bit.
You gotta eat.
You can kind of spoil yourself a little bit. You can have that little bit of an indulgence that you probably necessarily wouldn't take on an off day. So that's kind of a neat thing that pairs well with cycling. When you go out and do a century, it's kind of nice to sit down and have something that you wouldn't normally have just because you get to fuel yourself. And then there's just how it like affects your performance. It's how it affects your fitness. So food is it's a very dynamic thing when it comes to cycling, and you get to utilize it in a multitude of different ways. And I think that's kind of a neat little thing that pairs well with cycling.
It does.
That's just my 2 cents, but also with triathlon and running and so on and so
and
forth.
good food too. Like, I'll say carbs pair well with it. I'm sure some nutritionists will try to argue me on that.
I don't know. Pastries, Instagram.
Pastries, anything that's carbohydrate based.
Gotcha. I'm gonna go out and say on my next pick, technology pairs well with cycling. Now the purists are gonna say
I'm gonna hard disagree with that.
That's you. That's
get off my lawn.
Broken millennial should
I'm
definitely
gonna disagree with that as much as Jake disagreed with Speedos.
I think that technology pushes performance. It pushes connectivity. It pushes us to better understand who we are as an athlete, so that we can better train ourselves, and that we can continually kind of springboard off of that information that it's giving us, so that we can climb that proverbial ladder to get stronger and faster. I think that technology is a cool thing. Like, just like from like say 7 or 8 years ago when I wasn't using a power meter to today, I mean, that changes my whole entire outlook and my view of how I go out riding a bike. You know, I could have said the same thing when I first started using a heart rate monitor, when I got my first Garmin 305 that was just way back in the day. Those things changed the way that I looked at cycling. I'm going to also lump into that Strava. Completely changed the way that I look at cycling and how I've connected with people. I don't know if that falls under the technology area.
Strava would, yeah.
It still is. If it's not under the technology, it utilizes technology to connect with us. I think that changes the way that we cycle on the whole.
It does. We talk about it all the time.
You know,
I mean, really, it's a good portion of our conversations.
And without it, no joke, I probably wouldn't be talking to any one of the three of you. I mean, we might have bumped into each other out on a ride. Just, oh, hey, how you doing? Just smile and say hi. My circle of friends would be far less small than it is right now, and I don't think our team would be an actual team right now without technology.
Sure.
So just think about that, Mr. Get Off My Lawn.
This is true. I probably need to be more open.
I wouldn't be on the team or on this podcast without the technology.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have had this experience lining up at Jack Frost back in 2016, second in the queue for the Eddie class, or maybe third in the queue, and I hear this, "Hey, are you Jake Von During?" I'm Lance Hepler. Nice to meet you. Runs up and shakes my hand, and it's because of Strava. It's like he knew who I was, and I still to this day don't know how he knew who I was, but he called my name, ran over, shook my hand, and
Strava
from that day, Lance
you.
and I have been friends. So
he definitely Strava stalked you.
So that was a cool moment. But yeah, that's my 2 cents.
I'll agree. Yeah.
Technology.
Don't back down. Don't back down, Evan.
I'm not.
I mean,
I'm
here's
not
the
going to
thing.
back down from the. So
the sports purists.
The sports purists, but just from a long-term endurance build sort of perspective, I think when you look at mental health with it, technology sometimes can cause issues.
So can food, so can alcohol, so can sleep.
Food I think is a good example too. Yeah.
Anything
There's a
can cause
balance.
problems.
There's a balance.
I mean, you know, we could definitely dive into like this whole Strava being part of social media, and social media is a plague, and you know, people are diving into it way too deep and losing track of being able to socialize.
So the only reasonable thing to do is get rid of all of it. No, I'm joking.
No, that's obviously not going to happen. But there's definitely a lot of negatives to any of these, you know, social media platforms. And then I always think back to, and I love playing devil's advocate. That's why I'm disagreeing with Jake here. I love thinking back to running and just being like, you want to get better at running? Go run.
More.
Go run. You want to get better at biking? Go bike.
Yeah.
Don't worry about your power meter. Don't worry about that. You'll get faster. And then race.
Yeah.
And you're going to get faster. Do workouts.
I have a friend who
stopwatch. That's what you need. That's the technology.
I have a friend who I brought up on this podcast, Kid Hinders, out in Colorado, and me and him raced together for years in Ohio. And we used to pride ourselves on the fact that we would go on rides with people who were all talking power meters, and neither of us would bring bike computers. And we would, quote unquote, win the group rides all the time. We were those jerk kids. Like, we were terrible. And it's so funny because now when we text, we'll talk in watts. And it was funny because Kit completely, like, Kit still has a flip phone. Yeah. So he was so proud of not knowing anything about watts numbers.
Yeah.
It used to always be somebody would mention watts and he'd be like, is that good? Like he had no idea. He had zero idea. And a strong Cat 3 cyclist in Colorado. Right. So I mean he's fast. But it was so funny having, you know, these conversations now because we were like, oh, our 21, 22-year-old selves would be so mad at us now if we were talking in watts and watts per kilo and TSS scores and all this stuff.
This is going to sound horrible, but some of it is available income to spend on stuff. When you're
when we had no money,
when you're a teenager or even in your 20s, like, could you go buy a $1,000 power meter? Nope.
$5,000 bike,
$2,000
wheel set.
I could buy an aluminum bike, which I still have.
Yeah. But then you're just like, but you're also young and you can do the work and you can race really well and you can, you know, your performance increases pretty quickly at that age. Mm-hmm. And so then all of a sudden you're like, hey, the 40-year-old guy bought another toy and I just keep kicking his rear end, you know? And so you start to think like, well, those toys are pretty lame. And then you get older and you're like, well, let me try it. And then you try it and you're like, this is cool. So I can see both sides of the story for sure.
My side of the story wins, though.
Okay.
But my side's best.
Matt, hit us with another one.
I've got my last two I'm gonna throw in together. Shaving cream and chamois cream.
Oh, buddy.
Shaving cream and chamois cream.
Mm-hmm.
Two things that go fantastic with cycling and triathlon.
Yes. Oh, the
Yep.
chamois cream use in triathlon is reaching epic proportions. It really is.
Is it? Okay. I don't know that much about it.
Oh, I'm basically like a bar of soap when I start a race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So slippery.
I'd be the greatest running back ever right at the start of a race.
I like it, Matt. That's a good one.
Yep.
Evan, hit us with another.
All right, my final one here. Now, this is for cycling, running, and triathlon, not for swimming, though. Pairs well cycling and triathlon and race finish divas. There's nothing better than the person who needs to, either at the end of a cycling race, unclip and lay on the ground in a full sprawl, or the triathlete that decides that as soon as you hit the finish line, you're going to make sure that one of those people has to catch you.
Yikes. Did you see there was someone that won? It was the guy's winner of like one of the Ironman races this weekend, I think. And it was, he like,
Was it Austria, maybe?
I think it was Austria.
Yeah.
Thank you. Did you see that?
Yeah. Yeah.
The guy that won it, and I don't even know who he was. I'm sure he was pumped up or something, but he basically just did not come off well at the finish line because he kicks the finish line, the banner that there's just these two young girls holding the banner. And he just looks like a jackass.
He does.
Oh.
He did. He looked bad.
He kicks the banner with his foot and is just screaming. And it's like, oh no.
He scared one of the people holding the banner half to death. One of the little kids holding the banner, clearly was frightened.
It just looked so bad.
Yeah.
It looked disrespectful.
Raceline diva. I mean, you guys see after cycling, too, the guy will, slump over and they're, carrying him on the bike while he's getting over there. I'm sure you're tired,
I don't
but,
think you see it as much in cycling.
I've seen...
You see it in running.
You see it in
all the
running,
time.
yeah. Oh, God, running's probably worse, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to recap here before we jump to Lance, Evan has brought us Speedos, no socks, and race finish divas.
Pastries, too. Pastries.
Well, I'm
Nailed
leaving
it.
that
I
on
got
there as
one,
a good
right?
one.
Okay,
I'm
good.
going to give that a go. I'm going to give that a pass.
So 3 misses. 3 misses and 1 good one.
Yeah. All right. Lance, you want to hit us with another one? Or are you out there mowing your lawn?
I guess my last one that can you hear me?
I can. It sounded like someone was mowing a lawn there for a second.
Oh, yeah, because somebody is mowing the lawn right next to me.
Nailed it.
Sorry, we stopped because my wife and I are switching cars. But my last one was cycling goes with adventure.
Oh,
Adventure.
Adventure vans.
That's a good last one right there. And adventure vans, yeah.
Can we lump? I was going to put
going to new places and going to new races and stuff like that. So
Yeah, that's perfect, actually.
I'm going to toss one in there, just gravel. I'm going to put that in with your adventures.
Gravel adventures.
So,
I like it.
Yeah.
Off-road adventures.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it does,
There you
right? You go out on the bike and you can go so far and you see stuff that you've never seen before.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
You're at a place that you know some random road that you shouldn't even know.
Yeah.
It's a total adventure.
It's a great way to go and see things. It's fine whenever you tell somebody who doesn't cycle,
Yeah.
oh, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, I rode my bicycle 110 miles.
Yeah.
And they'll ask you 4 or 5 times how far.
Yeah.
And you got to keep on repeating that it was that long.
There's always
yeah.
that, I don't even drive that far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, buddy.
Yeah, that's a comment. Yeah, you're like, yes, you do. I know you do. Yes.
I've heard that before.
All right. Before we wrap this thing up here, I'm going to throw a couple more at you. And this one's going to pair really well with what you just said with your adventures.
Uh-huh.
Photography, pictures,
Oh,
Yes.
cameras,
It
taking
does.
pictures of all this stuff. Like,
Same.
what else would I want to take pictures
Cycling
of?
does great with you can such cool
Yeah,
pictures.
sure. I like taking pictures of my kids and other cool things. But a lot of the stuff that I love taking pictures of is the stuff that I see when I'm out on rides, because I see cool stuff all the time. All the time.
And racing bike picture.
Yeah.
Racing is such a cool thing to photograph.
Race photos
too.
are awesome, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So there was that, and then I'm going to toss out music. I think that pairs quite well.
I think it does too, even though, we've talked about
here comes Captain Safety Dog over here.
Safety Dan.
So both earpods in at full blast and dark sunglasses when it's cloudy,
Okay,
right?
wear all black.
can I
Put
preface
electrical tape on any skin
Yes.
that's
I have
dart in and out of
officially
traffic.
quit wearing my in-the-ear earbuds. They're completely not a part of my riding regimen, and I have officially switched over to bone conduction with the aftershocks.
Do you feel okay? You feel safe
I
out
feel
there hearing?
I'm gonna agree with you, and I think that was a great call. I think that I feel much safer because I'm immersed in my surroundings, but I still get my entertainment and I can hear my music, but I can hear cars and people yelling curse words at me, so it works. It works
That's
great.
important.
Yeah.
You want to hear the detailed
Matt,
curse
were
words.
you listening to music during our ride?
Yeah. I have the so
I can't
some
focus
of
on
it.
anything when I'm listening
So
to music.
here's the
it's
thing.
like being in an elevator. It's like the background music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to turn it down when I think that we're going to have a conversation, which was a lot of the ride.
Yeah.
But then if I'm doing the workout or like whatever, then I
Turn
kind
the
of want to
music
have
up.
the
Yeah.
music turned up or whatever. And that's what I think I did. So it's kind of turned down for a lot of our ride yesterday. And then, and the ones that I have are supposed to be bone conductive. They're more like just little speakers that kind of sit it towards your jawbone. I don't think mine are that great, but
Yeah.
I want to try the ones that you have. What is yours called? The audio? No,
Aftershocks.
Aftershocks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got the
I wanna
Aftershocks
try those.
Trex Air, if I'm not mistaken, and I think they work pretty swell.
How's the battery life?
I haven't had any problems with them out on the ride, but then again, I don't think
Yeah,
I've done any rides that are longer than 3 hours, but they work just fine.
Okay.
I think people are saying that they're getting like 4 or 5 hours, maybe 6 hours out of them,
Wow.
something like that.
Okay.
I don't know. So
It's pretty good.
yeah. My last one that I think pairs really well with cycling friends.
Cycling friends.
I think that pairs extremely well because those are the people that I most commonly relate to. I mean, we have a lot of things in common, and it gives us that common denominator of things to talk about, and they get it.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, just like you were saying, when you tell somebody that you rode 110 miles, they're like, I don't even drive that far. Why would you want to? It's like, they don't get it.
Why would you want to do that? That's
Yeah.
a question you always get.
They don't get the training stuff. They don't get the technology. They don't get the need to have a bike that costs more than $500 from your local bike shop that sorry, it's not a piece of crap, but you know what I mean. It's not going to be something that we're going to take out to a race. They don't understand why bikes cost as much as they do. It's just like when we talk about our cycling friends, they get it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what we would do without them. So
Yep. Bike is more expensive than the car you put it on.
Yeah,
Only a
that's rule.
cycling person would understand that.
all right, so there you go. That is our list of things that pair well with cycling and triathlon, minus Speedos. One last thing. Lance, are you still there? Lance?
I am still here.
All
Are
right.
still alive.
Here.
You want to hit us with one last thing?
My one last thing would be if you want to see some pictures and videos of my adventures for the last couple weeks, and I think there's a couple of fun, cool things on there, go check out my Instagram page. It is at Dr. Hep, DRHEPP, and you'll see some fun stuff on there.
It is
They're
awesome
really
to
cool
watch.
pictures, Lance.
It
Yeah,
is
like
good.
honestly, Lance, your pictures were incredible this last go around.
Heckle them a little bit too.
Yes, please do.
All right, Evan, one last thing, bud.
All right. I may be stealing yours here, Matt, but I was going to shout out to Triathlon Terran
Oh,
for
no,
his
that's not
finish
mine.
at Challenge.
I'm proud of him.
For Challenge Roth. So we have had Triathlon Terran on the podcast before. Does
Yes.
anybody know the episode number?
No.
Darn. Okay.
But
anyway,
he's one of our former guests on the podcast.
Yeah.
He had I feel like he did really well
he
on
had
our
a
podcast.
great race. Went 9:41
Yeah.
for his first Ironman.
Iron distance
And,
race.
Yeah, iron distance race because it is a challenge family race.
Right.
Roth, Germany, which is a world famous bucket list sort of triathlon.
Yes.
Absolutely a bucket list one.
I would love. It's a fast course. I would love to do that.
Oh
It'd
my
be
God,
super
if we
fun.
could ever get out there.
Okay,
that would be
well,
cool.
let's put it on our list of
I would love
things
it.
to do. My wife, I think, would be
I would
the
love
idea
to go
of
get
like
my butt kicked at that race. Yeah.
my wife's all down for. We've spent some time in like Bavaria, Germany, or whatever, and so
Yeah.
it's like she's interested in going back and stuff. So
I
we
would be all for it.
She potentially would give me the green light on that.
Triathlon Terran was on episode number 57.
57.
And today we're on
57.
number 72.
So if you guys want to go back and listen to Triathlon Terran's
Yeah.
episode,
Great
he
episode.
did a good job. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And super proud of him for making it through that race. And
did.
he raced really well.
Did it very well.
Yep.
he
And if
killed
you're
it.
having a hard time finding that episode, if it's not coming up in your queue or it cuts off at a certain number, you can always go to dialedpodcast.com and that will take you to all of the episodes and you can scroll down to that particular episode and give it a listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, Matt, one last thing.
This Thursday. So if our podcast comes out on Wednesday, which I hope it will, this Thursday is the last open water swim series in Camas, Washington. This
The
is the
final
one. So the new plan for this swim series is to do 3 swim series races throughout the summer. And they are completely free to anyone, even if you don't want to swim and you just want to come hang out, have drinks, have food, just hang out, heckle the swimmers.
Yep.
Take photos of people in Speedos, whatever it is that you're into. We could potentially have something like that going down on Thursday. 6 o'clock warm up, race at 6:30. Please come out, bring your friends.
I'm
bring
going
your
to
family.
pass.
Okay, think
Yeah,
about it.
I'm not going to go.
It's the Speedo thing, isn't it?
Yeah. No, actually, I would love to come. I'm just not going to be in town.
Okay.
Gotta miss that, man. I enjoyed that. The first one, the second one you guys had, I was out of town, and this one, I'm out of town again.
It's super fun.
Yeah,
it's super fun.
It's a blast.
And Matt, not for nothing, but thank you. Even though I'm not a swimmer, thank you for putting that on.
Yeah.
People, it wasn't free. Somebody had to pay for it, and it's actually pretty expensive to rent that place out. And you rented it out 3 times, and that was awfully generous of you. If you do want to make a contribution, there is a little thing where people are chipping in. So if you show up, I think they've got a little jar where you can throw some cash in there. And I know that there is a PayPal or a Venmo, maybe
or something like that
people can send stuff to. And I know that you want to keep this free, and I know that you tell people don't feel obligated to pay. But if I were wanting to give a few bucks to help offset some of that cost, just to lessen that that price tag. Where can I send that to?
I don't know what my wife's Venmo account is.
I was just going to Venmo you.
Okay.
Tell you what, we will post that up possibly.
Sure.
Maybe.
That's fine. Yeah, and mostly it's free, and people should come and hang out because we just want people to come play.
I just wanted to let people know that there was an option if they felt like they wanted to chip in a few bucks.
And I think it's important for people. I think a lot of people's hesitation with triathlon is the open water swim part.
Yep.
It's a great experience.
And people should be worried about open water swimming, but it's also beautiful when you get out there on the water, and and it's sunny, and hopefully the weather's decent for us. It's supposed to be 80 on Thursday. The weather forecast keeps changing, and I'm hoping it's going to be 80 and sunny. So we'll see. We'll find out. But
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right, my one last thing. Today marks the 8-month anniversary since we lost our friend Michael Myers.
8 months, wow.
8 months ago today. It's kind of crazy. It feels like it's been forever, and it kind of feels like it was just yesterday. And I had the opportunity to go meet with Michael's wife, Yolanda, this morning, and got to sit with her for a little bit and just kind of catch up.
Doing great. Last time I saw her, she was doing awesome. So.
Yeah, she is such a well-adjusted person, and it was super hard, and still is. I mean, there was like a couple of times where her eyes welled up today, and I was kind of feeling that tugging on my heartstrings inside as well when we were just talking about Michael in general. And we've got some cool things that we were talking about this morning that we will announce a little bit down the road. A possible little competition and a possible little thing to help out some people that are going off into the medical studying arena. So
okay, cool.
Yes, scholarship thingy. We will definitely be putting out some more information in the near future, but it was just nice to meet with her, and she wanted me to tell everybody that she is so thankful for everybody and that she is doing remarkably well. The boys are doing well, and they're they're obviously going through the whole process of grieving, but they are doing well. They're feeling happier and healthier, and they're feeling like they're in a better place. And each day that goes by, they're just super thankful, and they're just pushing in the right direction. So she just wanted me to share that. So
that's awesome.
Put that out there.
That's great.
Other than that, I'm taking off tomorrow to go camping for another little block of time. So
Awesome.
I will see you guys maybe on Sunday. I think we get back on Saturday evening.
Okay.
So
good.
This will hopefully get posted. I'll have it all dialed up and ready to go for you guys to listen when it normally comes out on Wednesday.
Perfect.
So, any last parting thoughts for you guys?
Thanks for having us.
Everybody watch the tour.
Le Tour.
Have some wine and cheese because it pairs well.
Yes.
Lance, you drive careful out there, man. Keep us updated on what's going on, and if you need anything.
Will do. Thanks,
right.
man.
Everybody, you guys are the best. Thank you so much for listening. We greatly appreciate it. We will see you next week. Bye for now.